Okay, I think the live stream is up and working properly. So let's go and check our fuel levels. Actually, before we do anything, let's go and check the controls in the airplane. Make sure, yeah, we've got the wrong control mapping. Not prepared at all. What a single engine, don't we? That was single engine combustion. I've got another one in here somewhere. There it was. Apply. Go back. Resume. So let's see what we've got. That's just the throttle, and that's all we get in this airplane, really. Let's just double check that. Oh, we have got a mixture. Okay, well, we're going to be low level though, so we're not going to need to adjust the mixture, to be honest. So let's check everything's working. We've got flaps, we've got no spoilers obviously, because it's a very basic airplane. We'll put the head tracking on in a moment, so we're just going to make sure the tracking is working, so LittleNavMap knows where we are as well, which is always handy. Okay, so how do we get this thing started? I haven't even looked up how to start the airplane yet. So we're going to have a little look around just to acquaint ourselves. So we've got master pull on there. That's our master power. We've got the magnetos here, but that's separate than the starter, which is over here. And just having a little look around on the floor, make sure we're not missing anything obvious. Yeah, like that. That's both on. We were going to put some fuel in, weren't we? Completely forgot about that. So we'll fill it up 80% full. So both on, so we don't have to switch tanks, which is good, and it's obviously going to be gravity fed, being this family of Cessna, fed from the wings, and you get the fuel gauges on the wing roots, which is good to know about ahead of takeoff. All working. So beacon pull on. Let's just go and check the beacon light is actually working, and it is, which is always good. We'll put the nav lights on as well while we're at it. Pull lean, no, we want rich mixture. And actually I am going to go and change my controls so I can use the mixture. It was the combustion one that I skipped past. Single engine combustion I want from my saved profiles. Apply, go back, resume. So I now should get throttle and mixture. So crank throttle open, rich mixture, and very good. Put the radios on. So we want to run up at about 1000 RPM. It's got this very basic map. We're not actually going to program a route into it, we're just going to use LittleNavMap along the way. But I guess we could zoom out a little bit. Calibrate the altimeter. And put the head tracking on. So what's the wind doing in this part of the world? 2 knots, nothing. Well, nothing worth worrying about anyway. Actually, let's go the other way. I want to go and have a nosy of the buildings here before we take off. So this is North Eleuthera. North Eleuthera, I can never say it. So this is one of the airfields that got updated with the Islands update, or Oceania was it called, the update with all of the islands. Whoa, Sim's just frozen. Give it a moment. Oh, usually it doesn't freeze again once it's frozen once. So let's go across the grass. No one's going to mind. I just want to hear the sound. Yeah, because it simulates the grass sounds, which is awesome. Back out onto the road, or the runway. We're not going to need much runway. Let's get the aeroplane pointing the right way. And we're up. So let me just check the volume levels to make sure this isn't too loud for you. I'm going to turn it down a bit for you so you don't get completely drowned out by it. This is wiggling around. I might have to turn the wind off. There might be a bug in it. Let's have a look and see if it's noticeable from outside. So if we fly into the wind, let's see if it stops doing it. Yeah, it does. Okay. So just going to have a little look around this island before we continue on our way. So it's going to scoot around the coastline a little bit. Okay, so we're going to turn about face, so about 100 degrees, so we should see the runway we took off from over here. Yeah, I'm going to change that weather. It's just kicking the tail all over the place. Let's see if it's still affected if we don't have live weather on. Or if we even go for high clouds, maybe. Yeah, it's similar look, but we haven't got the nose pitching around. Okay, so that's where we just took off from. let me just have a quick look at the live stream chat. Do you have your graphics settings all max? It always looks so good. It's on ultra. So this is an NVIDIA 3080 RTX graphics card. A fairly quick PC. And the graphics are just on ultra. And I limit it to 30 frames a second. The machine has only got 16 gig of RAM. So at the moment I'm running Flight Sim, LittleNavMap and OBS. If we pull up Task Manager, just for those that are interested, and go and have a look in performance. So you can see CPU is on 30%. The GPU is on 30%. So it's not being stressed at all doing this. So Flight Sim itself is running 1080p and limited to 30 frames a second, and VSync is on. So it's running at half of the monitor refresh rate. Okay, so we're going to carry on down the islands and go and do some airfield hopping along the way. So the first airfield is right at the other end of this sandbank, essentially, called Governor's Harbour. So the airfield's going to be down here somewhere. Oh, just after the bend, it's over there. Should we go along the beach just to make it a bit? Well, which side do we go? Right side's got more settlements, hasn't it? So let's drop down. And then we'll scoot across the island in a moment to go look at that boat. Obviously we can side slip this as well, although it doesn't side slip much. Lots and lots of palm trees. Okay, let's carry on down the coast. And halfway, just over halfway to Governor's Harbour. Can we open the windows? Not while we're in flight by the sounds of it. Well, that's a shame. So in the live stream, someone's asking where I am in the world. I'm just heading down towards Governor's Harbour, which is Mike Yankee Echo Mike in the Bahamas. I'm carrying on along the island chain basically. Just for a bit of fun, because I've never flown around here, or not for a very long time. So I'm not sure what to expect. Okay, we should be nearly there. Yeah, it's just around the corner. It's just, well, directly ahead of us across the curve in the bay. It's a shame there's these graphical artifacts in the ocean. The tiles are not quite knitting up somehow. So we're going to do a touch and go here. Now I haven't actually looked at the wind, so we've got 6 knots from the south. Sorry, from the west. So we'll need to double back on ourselves, really. Although it's more of a crosswind than anything. It's only 6 knots. But we'll have a little look at the airfield before we line up for an approach. That's going to be the airfield over there, isn't it? Can we see a beacon down there flashing? I think we can. Might have to go and have a look at that boat after I touch and go. Okay, let's get the speed under control. And some flaps. Oh, they have lights. Proper pappy lights, unbelievable. Hanging on the wing. Actually, no, they're not proper pappy lights, are they? Just looking. Oh no, yeah, the pappy lights are working. Interesting. Okay. Got 2 reds and 2 whites. 3 reds now. Let's keep the nose up. I wonder how slow this will go. It's just above 60 knots. We're now too low on the glide slope that's marked by the pappies, but it's fine. It's not like we need the rest of the runway, is it? Could take off 3 or 4 times in the length of the runway. So let's cut the throttle and see how much you can get away with. So full flaps takeoff. There goes the stall warning. So if we lift the flaps quickly, it's absolutely fine, isn't it? So what will it do in terms of a stall? Let's do another little touch and go with no flaps, just to see how it behaves. Interesting. Let's let it get some speed up this time. Doesn't Flight Sim choose its moments to freeze? Oh, we have company. Green leaf. Okay, let's carry on down the island then. So this is the Queen's Highway we are following, down past Governor's Harbour. We follow on down to Rock Sound International. So yeah, just reading some of the comments on the live stream. No, you're all welcome. All I'm really doing is sharing what I learned in the simulator out to everybody else. It's become a bit of a mission, but I find it fascinating. Certainly this sort of aeroplane isn't so much, but the more complicated aeroplanes, the systems fascinate me. It's kind of similar to my real job. I'm a software and website developer in the real world. Senior technical consultant is my title these days, but yeah, I enjoy finding out how things work. Should we go and buzz the millionaire speedboat? Very cool. So if we go slow enough, I wonder if we can go as slow as him. Let's just circle round. Put the flaps down. Yeah, we're right on the store limiter, I'm afraid. So we're not going to be able to play that game. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Okay, whereabouts are we then? Let's go and have a look at the map. So Rock Sound is at the southern end of Eleuthera. So Phil Morrish is saying, I've just come back to Flight Sim after a year and again going down the road of testing optimum graphics settings. Your visuals look great. Have you done any videos covering settings? I really haven't done anything special. I've just got a fairly quick PC, a fairly quick graphics card, and I'm running stock Ultra with everything else just standard. I haven't fiddled with anything. I'm only running one monitor. So I'm running one monitor at 1080p on purpose because that's the resolution I send out to YouTube. So therefore it doesn't require any downscaling at all. Because I used to have a 4K monitor and I got rid of it. Well, I didn't get rid of it. It was my work monitor, so I've now got two desks in the room. So when I'm at work, I have, I don't have anything to do with my home PC that's got Flight Sim on it when I'm doing work. So during the day, this is all switched off. Flight Sim seems to miss the flight route and then I have to manually align to the route. It depends on the aeroplane. That's a very, very complicated question to answer. A lot of people expect airplanes to be able to perform wonders and they really can't. So even though you might have a fancy autopilot and fancy GPS tracking, it doesn't mean you can just switch it on and forget about everything. There's a reason the pilots stay in the front of the aeroplane throughout the flight. Even if you're in an Airbus and, you know, everything's massively automated, they still stay there. Kind of babysitters of the aircraft in those situations, though. And they're obviously in case ATC calls through with a change to your routing. Well, it's very pretty around here, but it's actually quite boring, isn't it? I don't know. Just tootling along. I guess if you have a local interest in the scenery and the geography and the history of the place, it probably changes it entirely. And I bet if we change the time of day to, say, sunset or sunrise, it probably makes it absolutely stunning. We want the sun in front of us, don't we, ideally? Where is the sun? It's off to one side of us. So yeah, you can make it very, very pretty. If we were to go for evening, so someone's asking if I'm using a VR headset. No, I'm not. I'm using a Tobii Eye Tracker, not a head tracker. So it's similar to a mobile phone. It's a camera that sits underneath the screen, or it's several cameras actually, and they point at your face and they locate your face in space. So as I turn my head or move my head, I can look around the cockpit. Yeah, I can tilt my head. And obviously you can set the sensitivity of that as well. So I don't have to look backwards in the room to look over my shoulder. I'm looking about 45 degrees for 90 degrees, if that makes sense. So by looking about 60 or 70 degrees sideways, I can look behind. But you can tune all of that. So looking about 20 degrees up or down is about double that within the simulator. Oh wait, what's that yacht doing down here? The only problem with the Tobii head tracker is it does tend to drift a little bit, but I've got a key I can press which will center it up. If I press F12, which I've mapped to do this job, if I press it now and again, and it's recentered me in the aeroplane. I'm sure there was a boat there a moment ago. Oh, there it is. It did take a while to get used to head tracking, but once you get used to it, you almost consider it, if you're streaming or recording, you're using your head as a camera. So you are directing the view for the viewers by positioning your head appropriately. It's interesting how quickly you come around to doing that. Okay, so we're just coming down towards Rock Sound. And then once we get onto this little stretch along here, the runways will be a lot more frequent. The interesting thing, I guess, is, yeah, I've got this crazy computer for running Flight Simulator, but my daily computer for running around and doing emails or whatever else is a Chromebook. And quite a cheap Chromebook, because it's small, it fits in my bag, I can carry it easily, it doesn't weigh anything, it lasts all day on a charge easily. And sitting alongside on the desk now is a Raspberry Pi 5 connected up to an old monitor, which is just, again, used to have a browser open or whatever. Can play old video games on it. Yeah, so the Raspberry Pi gets a bit of a hammering with being reinstalled with different things to be able to play old video games or send emails or look up an internet address or whatever it is. Do I do touch and goes? Yes, I do. So at the next airfield, which we're just heading towards, you can see it's directly in front of us actually. So you've got these two lagoons and then it's just across from them. So it's over here. So we'll need to choose a direction in. So given the wind direction, we are going to turn left, go out over the bay, and circle back in. We can use the cursor keys as well to move ourselves around inside the cockpit. So you can really see the muck on the glass. Okay, so Dave says, hey Jonathan, how's things? Just got down flying the DC-6 to Lowy from Cardiff, considering she hasn't been touched in a while. DC-6 is fantastic fun, isn't it? Especially if you take it up to altitude and start playing with the superchargers and things like that. If we use LittleNavMap, do we need Simbrief for flight planning? Well, you don't need any of them. They are all just interesting things to use. Simbrief, the main aim of Simbrief is to give you an operational flight plan, which is what is the raft of paperwork, or reef. What's the word? Reef? It's the pile of paperwork that a commercial crew would take onto the aircraft with them, which describes the loadout of the aircraft, the routing of the flight plan, and all the notices to airmen that apply to them for the flight. So that's what Simbrief simulates making. It makes you an operational flight plan, or OFP. Things like LittleNavMap, they are just nice navigation tools that are helpful for flight planning. So you can see I've penciled in a route, I'm not following it. But it's just to give you, it's quite nice though on an IFR flight plan, although I've got this misrepresented here. On an IFR flight plan, it's quite nice because on procedures it tells you the any restrictions along the way. Did I put my lights on earlier? Let's put my landing lights on as well. I wonder how bright they are. Not very is the answer to that. Again, this is a huge runway here. So we're just cruising in onto the approach. Losing speed as we go. You can see the beacon light of the aircraft in front of us. So you can see the pappies there saying we are too high. So we will drop and you'll see the lights light up with one red light and then two red lights, and that will mean we are in the correct point in the glide slope. So there's one. So we'll keep going down too steeply. Now we have two. So the trick is to hold two lights until you get to the runway. Obviously we can see the runway, so it's a bit pointless. But it does just give you a visual indication that you're on the appropriate glide path. Okay, which way are we going next then? Left to Cape Eleuthera. So we just follow the bay around and it will take us straight there. So we could straight line it, but we'll triangulate off of the corner of this just here, and then we'll turn across for the next one and then fly for it from there. Doesn't have a binnacle compass, it's in the dash, isn't it? Yeah, okay. We can get rid of the GPS if we don't want it. And just click on that and it goes away. It's a nice looking little aeroplane, isn't it? I wonder if you can roll it. I'm not going to try. I don't want to go and smash the aeroplane up. There's no G meter either, so without being able to feel the interesting. There's a nav radio somewhere. Oh, of course, yes, there is. The nav radio is over here, isn't it? So we could use nav radio. Interesting, interesting. Are there any VORs anywhere nearby? The answer to that will probably be a big fat no. Okay. It's all take a heading at a speed for an amount of time around here, isn't it? Okay, so directly out in front of us we should see a beacon fairly soon for an airstrip. I think we can see it already. Is that it on this side of the sandbank? No, it's on the other side, sorry. It's probably obscured from us then. It's the other side of those trees. So we should see it in a few minutes. Obviously this doesn't have an autopilot, so you just make do with trimming it as you go. A little bit of aileron trim, a little bit of rudder trim. What can we play with around the aeroplane then? Do these work? Oh, they do. Interesting. And we get the tables of data. Okay. Anything else worth looking at around the aeroplane? I'll just level it up again. Right, let's go and have a look at around the back. Climb over the seats. Sit in the back. No, there's nobody flying the aeroplane. I guess you could probably attach some sticks to the corners of the yoke. Better go and jump back in, hadn't I? Before we go into the drink. Okay, so on the other side of this tree line, let's go and get a little bit of altitude. So we're trading some of our airspeed off. And we should see the runway. Yeah, you can see it over there, look. Do I have the Kodiak? Yes, I do. Just reading the live stream comments there. Haven't flown it for a while, so yeah, it would be interesting to go back to it. They're about to release a new version of it, aren't they? So there's is it the Kodiak 900? Is the, or something like that. It's the new model that the manufacturer is making. It's going to be available in Flight Simulator. Is the Kodiak worth it? Yes. It was quite early on in the development of Flight Simulator that it came out, but it's still very good. So if you can get it for a good price somewhere, then definitely worth it. It was one of the first aircraft that really simulated the physics of the propeller properly. So you could absolutely, if you gave it too much throttle, too low an airspeed, the torque, or the combined factors of, P factor, slipstream effect, torque, would all contribute into tipping the aeroplane over. So you had to be quite careful. So I'm coming down with no flaps, which is going to be fascinating. So let's drop in just at the very end of the runway. So within flaps range now. So there's the building. Obviously this is not study level scenery, this is just the stock AI. So we're now putting the thrust from the propellers on those barn door flaps, which is giving us helicopter-like abilities. So if you just hold attitude, that's the thrust from those flaps. So the propeller is hitting those flaps and basically forcing the aeroplane upwards into the air. We held attitude and you saw what happened. Okay, now we've got the long leg out across the water to Norman's Cay. So it's going to be a long featureless. I'm tempted to slew this. So what heading do we want? 260 degrees or thereabouts. So if we have a look on the... So that's 250. Okay, you just need to keep an eye on it. I'm just trimming the aircraft out so it doesn't climb or descend. Pull the RPM back just a little bit so it's not completely on the limiter, even though it's a Carenado aeroplane, so it's not going to affect it that much. Pretty much trimmed out. Yeah, you can see it rolling, look. So the only reason it's gently rolling left is because the propeller's going that way. So it's just Newton's laws in play. Is this plane available on the marketplace? I believe that's the only place you can buy it. All of the Carenado aircraft are in the marketplace. So it's very basic. You don't get the option of putting clever GPSs in. It does have the tablet because it's a Carenado aircraft. So there's various bits and pieces you can either show or hide. There's various like shortcuts to start the airplane quickly. We're starting to roll again, look. And there's a checklist and there's a landing checklist, and that's it. It's very, very basic. But I kind of like that sometimes. Well, it's great fun to have all the electronic gizmos and you know, flight management systems and GPSs and every assistive technology under the sun. Sometimes it's good just to go and have a fly. Okay, so AV Apollo saying goodbye, see you soon. How are we doing on the trip? Yeah, where we were sitting outside and messing around, look, we've drifted as the aeroplane started to roll. So we need to get this back to 260. So 235, 240, 245, 250. Getting there. Obviously we want a bit more of an angle now to get back on track. But if we just dial in a little bit more aileron trim to stop it rolling left all the time, which is, obviously this doesn't have aileron trim, so we're doing the equivalent of just resting our hand on one side of the yoke to resist the aeroplane wanting to roll left. It's a good point though, does this have the hidden autopilot? So let's keep an eye on it. If I press the normal keyword, which is Z or Z on the keyboard, doesn't do anything. So they've disengaged it in the configuration of the aircraft. Okay, let's save some time here because it's going to be boring otherwise. Sloop, here we go. Okay, so we're coming into Norman's Cay. So there's this lagoon here, which will follow in towards the runway. The runway's just over this end. So if we go along the lagoon a little way, it's quite a lonely existence, isn't it? Flying along over the islands. I imagine it's quite stressful in the real world because you'd have to take all the safety measures for flying over the ocean. So you'd have to have life preserver on and rescue kit with you, beacons, flares, all the rest of it, in case you have to ditch. Emergency radio beacons. You'd need fuel reserve as well. I'm sure if you go and read up on the safety measures for flying over water, they're probably quite stringent. I think Missionary Bush Pilot has covered it on his channel. Yeah, look, Sim's just frozen. That's really useful. Let's just give it a moment. So where is the runway? Hiding. It's on the right side, sorry, the left side of the right island. So does that mean it's over here? Or is that it there on the water line? I guess we'll know when we get a bit closer. Okay, you can see the runway now. It's through the trees on top of the island, that's fine. That's one of the advantages that 4K has actually, because you've got such a high resolution, you can see features from further away. Right, I might call this evening, you know, because I'm really tired. It's been quite a long week, which is why I haven't been flying very much. I've been busy at work and at home. But I will be flying again over the weekend. So I've had a few requests to do some reviews. Somebody sent me a really lovely scenery of Sao Paulo airport, so I'll be doing a review of that over the weekend. And I might make my way back into the Starfighter as well. Right, let's see what we can do if we side slip this in. So the parking is at the far end of the airfield. It's pretty be fun to watch this from outside, actually. I wonder if we can land this from outside. There's no way of knowing which way you're pointing, is there? Makes it almost impossible. So I'm going to go and park the aeroplane up and call it an evening. It's hardly a breath of wind. Although that's at runway level. 1,000 feet up. It could be we might have 10 knots. Need to be careful about speed because this is a tail dragger, so I'm ramming the tail wheel into the ground now with the elevators with a little bit of thrust over them. Okay, parking brake on. Cut the mixture, should start the engine. Very good. And then we can just go and turn everything off. So it's actually quite easy to shut down, isn't it? Because you just push the levers in. Except the parking brake, hey? And turn the magnetos off. And when we got in, although the fuel was already on, there's nothing to say we have to do that. We can turn the fuel off. I think that's it. Now, do the doors work is the next question. Yes, they do. And the sound is modelled correctly with the doors. It's always nice when that's done, isn't it? Very cool. So, if we go and have a look at this from outside. This was the Cessna C-170 from Carenado. There's a Tundra version of it as well. So you remember in the tablet it said you could either put the covers on the wheels or not. So there's various options. But it's interesting, isn't it, to see such a basic aeroplane and to go fly it around. I would argue the flight model isn't that great, but having never flown the real thing, it's difficult to say. It just seems to be the side slipping seemed a bit robotic. But otherwise, yeah, good fun. Anyway, I'm going to call it a night there because I'm tired. And I'll see you again over the weekend at some point. Okay, see you soon. Take care.